Wow, you can really smell the panic. Berlin bunker vibes.
It is rather pungent.
This libtard, how you like spelunking in the elephant's asshole?
I'm just a corporate observer.
Okay.
Some guy with an undercut just called me soy boy.
Oh, don't worry, Greg. It's a nice safe space where you don't have to pretend to like Hamilton.
Well, I like Hamilton.
Sure you do. We all do.
Hey, Shiv, is it true you were at the Hate Fest? Burning books and measuring skulls down in Nuremberg, Virginia?
Yeah. What are you doing with your weekend? Planning to send us all to jail, your favorite?
Fuck it, I'll just come out and say it. Fascists are kind of cool, but not really. So is that like a problem, a thing?
Seriously, me, I don't have a lot of boundaries.
I know we came to market to buy you a nice milk cow, but we found ourselves a fucking T-Rex, okay? He's box office.
Okay, spoilers. Sometimes an episode of television is more important than it is entertaining. That's the case for the 6th episode of Season 3 of Succession, entitled What It Takes. Of course it is about all the usual family intrigues, but this time with far, far more riding on it than usual, namely the future of democracy. This episode asks a distressing question and then answers it. How might an authoritarian leader arise and then insist himself, together with his hate-filled, nefarious agenda, into the larger society? In essence, could a Nazi go mainstream prime time? Is it possible? The answer, with the help of Roman and his damaged psyche, is it could indeed happen here, with apologies to Sinclair Lewis's 1935 novel. During the Future Freedom Summit, Logan pits Shiv against Roman to find the next Republican nominee for president, and it becomes a free-for-all, with the Vice President of the United States basically throwing himself at Logan.
Yeah, I just need you to push me over the brink here.
Great. I get it. See you at dinner. I think he's been waiting there for me for the last 10 fucking minutes.
To put it in terms Kendall might appreciate, this episode is The Remains of the Day meets The Manchurian Candidate meets Wag the Dog meets Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
4-0. How are we looking?
Shit slaps.
Yeah, you think? What was the one I liked? What's the one I liked?
End Times.
Right?
Weimar meets Carthage meets Dante meets AI.
The descent into authoritarianism begins slowly, almost like the beginning of a joke. An American crypto-fascist politician goes into a bar and sits down next to the entitled knucklehead son of a legendary media tycoon. It just goes downhill from there.
I'm sorry, this is how it happens?
Good night.
Dad, come on, he's fucking dangerous.
This is indeed how it begins, with Roman flirting with Jeryd Mencken, and then somehow it moves from there and changes into a full-fledged man-crush that's consummated intellectually and ideologically speaking in Logan's hotel bathroom. This episode is powered by the usual fuel, Logan's children's bottomless need for their father's approval and his endless infantilization of them. And of course, the dysfunctionality of their relationship with Logan in general. During their car ride together, Shiv tries to capture Logan's attention and hopefully his gratitude regarding her deal to save the company from episode 5, but to no avail. Logan seems to be saying, "What have you done for me lately?"
I don't think this is the place to let Roman be the mouthpiece.
He's maturing.
Yeah, and I love him, but he fucked the phone call with a raisin. That's an existential risk. And the only solid thing he actioned in LA, Dad, was the movie Dr. Honk about the man who could talk to cars.
Shiv bashes Roman's resume and exaggerates her own importance, like a child who enjoys bragging. Logan hates this. He wants to decide for himself whether or not Shiv did well. We see this when he praises Roman's work on his behalf at the Future Freedom Summit.
You did good this weekend, son.
Conversely, Logan brings Shiv down to earth hard.
Kerry, get Shiv a fucking medal.
It's almost like he's saying, give her an ice cream cone. At times, Shiv is her own worst enemy, arguing that her opinion should actually count for more than Roman's. True enough, but it's a kind of a loser's argument. Again, Logan sees her as exaggerating her own importance.
Shiv wants her way, I want my way. Connor wants his way, so that's even.
It's not even. My opinion counts for more.
Throughout the summit, Shiv and Roman argue back and forth like 12-year-old kids might.
Our mother's marrying some dickhead, crooked-toothed turnip man. What's wrong is how little you care about eating.
Poor Roman. His dreams of porking mom slipping through his little lubed-up fingers.
He's still really into blowjobs, I hear.
You just want to give him blowjobs, so stop projecting.
Hey, Romulus.
I do.
Looks like he wants one now.
Shiv's greatest blunder in this episode is suggesting that the Republican Party has drifted so far away from the American political mainstream that Logan should finally consider supporting whomever receives the Democratic nomination.
You know, if Boyer flames out, then maybe it might be time to pivot party.
With this, in essence, Shiv hands things to Roman without a fight. This is what Shiv thinks should be done, but she favors the Democrats because they share her values. Logan's values are decidedly different. She doesn't get that the CEO of Waystar represents Logan first, not themselves. Then they represent the company itself. Kendall understands this, but Shiv continues not to get it, failing over and over and arguing totally useless nonsense, perhaps even more tone-deaf than Connor, if that's possible.
Wonderful to see you again, my very good adversary.
Honestly, Dad, I think you go Dems.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think we have a responsibility as Waystar to the American Republic and to the future of it. Fuck you, Roman!
Shiv displays a stunning naivete. Even the use of the term responsibility here is laughable, a contradiction in terms since so many of the things Waystar has done, like forcing the Raisin to vacate the presidency, is nothing short of a slow-moving coup d'etat. Shiv expects Logan to seriously consider Congressman Salgado, who says he's interested in diverse dialogue, but we know such dialogue is decidedly not in Waystar Royco's best interests. Shiv actually witnesses Logan requesting that the Vice President of the United States bring him over a Coke, and yet she still doesn't get that selecting a candidate is 100% about Logan and his brand. Nothing else matters. In one last show of his authority before the conclusion of the episode, Logan makes Shiv stand in a photo with Mencken, a man she reviles as being decidedly outside the American political mainstream. Of course, Logan doesn't care and perhaps even likes the fact that Mencken breaks with tradition. Logan prefers shiny and new as a distraction from actual issues, like the DOJ investigation of the scandal at Cruises, which might harm Waystar. ATN's specialty is distraction.
Siobhan, are you part of this family or not?
In this episode, Logan's 3 children are utterly infantilized. As a show of utter impotence, Shiv is only able to negotiate not standing next to Jeryd Mencken, nothing else. She's powerless, and is truly the new Kendall, as he predicted.
Look at this. It's you now. I'm sorry for you, Siobhan.
Logan relents, but it is a Pyrrhic victory for Shiv, not standing next to Mencken. This is her only victory. Shiv spent the entire episode basically losing to Roman.
Oh, wait till the weekend's over. We'll get our white cis male stank all over you.
Just 2 other things worth mentioning before getting back to Jeryd Mencken and Roman and the dominant theme of this episode. One is Kendall's mental state. He is still trying to woo Tom and Shiv to his side of the Waystar Royco situation, to Team Kendall, but it's not clear that this is going anywhere. Tom is resigned to his fate, to die in prison, and Shiv is not particularly sympathetic, to Tom that is.
I don't get why you keep wanting to talk about it.
Oh. Okay. I'm sorry. Does the topic of my imminent imprisonment bore you?
Come on, you're obsessing.
Tom is honest with Kendall and tells him that he cannot really see the advantages of testifying against Logan in return for immunity, since he does not believe Kendall will ultimately prevail.
My hunch is that you're going to get fucked. Because I've seen you get fucked a lot. And I've never seen Logan get fucked once.
It's almost like Tom has been watching the show and knows where things are headed. Coincidentally, Lisa Arthur also appears to have been watching the show, since she really has Kendall pegged.
You acted high-handed and defensive, and then oscillated to wildly overfamiliar and glib. You sometimes undermined my status and didn't appear to be frank about your own involvement.
And this didn't just happen during the DOJ interview.
Okay, fine. Well, I approve the illegal payments because I love sexual assault and I love to cover it up.
Kendall is heading for disaster, continuing to plan a huge celebration of his 40th birthday while everything else collapses around him. Not to put too fine a point on it, but one of the particularly despicable hangers-on in Kendall's apartment, perhaps advising him about what to do next, is the hard-selling watch broker, who enticed or perhaps guilted poor cousin Greg into purchasing an overpriced vintage piece by dropping baffling watch terminology on Greg like patina, which is really just a word for the funk on an older watch's dial. In the end, to cousin Greg, all watch terminology is baffling terminology. The other thing worth mentioning briefly is that Kerry has become someone of some consequence in the show, and quite rapidly. No one knows what to make of her, from Shiv and Roman to the Vice President of the United States. All that is known for certain is that Logan likes Kerry's company and let her listen to President Raisin ranting on the phone in episode 4 this season. This is not something he would do with just anybody, and to Logan, Kerry's companionship and loyalty could mean far more than anybody realizes.
I think that's just a rumor.
I mean, to me, it's one of those things where even if it isn't real, there's a reason it feels like it is, right?
Dad? Dad, come on. He's fucking dangerous.
Definitely fucking.
Succession in this episode took a turn into the truly terrifying abyss. We witnessed the consequences of Logan's overweening need to control political events and to protect his company from the real impact of the cruises scandal. How do countries become fascist? People feel that they need more control, and demagogues always seem to be the one they select as their leaders during such periods, because they do the easy, lowbrow stuff, blaming foreigners for problems, cracking down on the press, creating divisions in society, making people afraid to dissent. Logan is truly a kingmaker. It's one thing to seek to cover up a scandal, but quite another to throw the Republican nomination over to a white supremacist, Hitler-loving, full-bore fascist. This goes way beyond the usual tolerance for authoritarian leaders on ATN. Shiv hedges her bets, saying only that Mencken won't necessarily become a Hitler clone, but she seems to imply that Mencken could be authoritarian adjacent and totalitarian curious at a minimum.
Seriously, me, I don't have a lot of boundaries.
In Logan's bathroom, Mencken admits that he has no governor for his behavior. It is troubling that Roman is not dissuaded by this in the slightest, embracing it as something like kismet. Roman seems to have a gift for understatement.
H. You know, there was a very naughty boy named H.
In the end, Roman is a walking advertisement for Holocaust education. He seems to know a little about a lot of things. The Overton window and Tripping the Light Fantastic, however, do not really make him someone who understands the dangers that fascism pose to the American polity. Once you've learned the things of which H was capable, falling for Mencken's shtick wouldn't be nearly as likely. Studying history builds up your bullshit detector for opportunism and extremism. By the time that Jeryd Mencken admits who he is in the bathroom, Roman suspects that Mencken will be a huge hit with Logan. When Shiv describes how bad it would be to have Mencken in the Oval Office, Roman accuses her of exaggerating the situation. Chicken Littling implies that right-wing racist political movements are no great cause for concern. Roman's comment here is the equivalent, roughly, of stating that there were many fine people on both sides at Charlottesville. It is hard not to reflect back on Roman's description of himself from way back in the first season.
Look, man, I'm dumb, but I'm smart. I'm too dumb to know how to fix our whole company. I don't have the attention span. Like, this is probably the most interesting thing that's happened in my whole life, and I'm thinking about like 6 other things. But I'm smart enough to spot the people who can help us, Lawrence.
This time he is naive about the Nazis, but smart about the things that Logan expects of him. Logan wants a candidate for ATN, and Roman delivers, whatever the consequences. Whatever happens subsequently, Mencken is Roman's creation now. Roman likes Mencken not because he speaks to Roman particularly, but rather because Mencken's brand of rhetoric and bluster and pseudoscience fit together with Logan's own. Roman knows this may work out because Mencken's pitch to Roman is no more or less compelling than the self-serving, bizarre, rambling speech that Logan Roy delivers to Senator Gil Evis at Shiv's wedding in season 1.
What about me, Mr. Fucking Ability, busting my chops in my auto shop so that some needy fuck from the projects can jack off on my time? That's the issue.
Mencken appears to hold similar views.
Now, you can integrate new elements, of course, but come on, man. Slowly. I mean, fuck!
But come on, man, is a long way from Abraham Lincoln's House-divided speech of 1858. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half-slave and half-free. Mencken's homespun racist horseshit is about as inarticulate and unconvincing an argument for ending democracy as, "Hey man, don't have a cow." Imagine the fools who will be lining up to vote for this right-wing, rabble-rousing pseudo-populist. Roman spends the episode making points with Logan. Mencken, win or lose, is as good as gold for ATN. Logan did not want to back yet another uncompelling status quo politician like Vice President Dave Boyer. Shiv believes her own hype, that she can pick the right man for Logan, but she's shopping for herself in many ways, and picks the wrong person. Mencken is far from perfect, and Logan knows that, but he feels the power of ATN can wash Mencken clean and make him more mainstream. Logan cares little about what Mencken means to the nation, and what will be left of it if somehow Mencken ever becomes president. I was also struck by this moment.
Bullen, Dad, no downside.
Oh,
no, his chief of staff broke a kid's jaw at a rally.
Somehow watching this felt like the rough equivalent of Nazi book burning, since Shiv's ideas matter, and she's right, but no one cares to hear them, and no one in the inner circle even cares whether or not Waystar is a responsible corporate citizen. Logan tells off Shiv. As Logan walks out, satisfied with Roman's selection of a T-Rex for president, not only does this end the dreams of Boyer and Salgado, but also Connor's as well. The irony is that Connor is a better human being than Jeryd Mencken is, and even Logan knows it, but Connor is not equipped intellectually, emotionally, or psychologically to hold or exercise political power over others. Pissing straight is not enough, at least this time.
You can walk and chew gum. He pisses pretty straight.
Pretty damn straight. I piss policy laser.
Okay, I mean, are we being serious about this?
Thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing.
It's just me, or in a room full of Timothy McVeighs, does Connor suddenly look like a Roosevelt?
Sweetie.